Hello and welcome again to Relax with Watercolour. Today we're in County Tipperary on Lough Derg. The Drumineer Castle, which is on the shores of Lough Derg, is an 11th century building. Now it's only a ruin at the moment, so we're going to do a sunset, a backdrop of a sunset onto the castle. We're going to start off, I'm going to draw the shape of the castle first. So I'm putting in a horizon line which is just below halfway, and again you don't have to be too particular about this, just roughly below halfway. I'm just going to bring it right up here, and it must have been an old fireplace. It goes down like this and then it climbs up. I'm going to make that a bit higher actually, like that. And this would be all covered now at the moment in ivy and all sorts of foliage. And then it's just got a few trees here and there like that, and then some distant headland away. So we're going to then reflect all of this into the water so that we can get the difference then between the sunset in the distance behind the castle and then the reflections into the water. I'm just now going to draw my reflection into the water, but this time I'm not trying to copycat the actual building that I did. I'm just going to more give a representation, because it wasn't a still evening, so you're not going to get exactly the same thing. And we want to just give that impression then of the reflections. So, first of all, I'm going to wet my paper in the time tradition fashion, and I'm not going to wet anything below the horizon line. I want to concentrate as much as I can on my horizon and sky. I'll pick up the reflections when we get the painting up on the easel. So first of all, plenty of water, like this. Now, I have got about 2 minutes. Once I wet my paper, I have about 2 minutes to get things organized. There's my yellow first, and there's my light red, which will be next, and then followed by the indigo. So I'm going to start off with my lemon yellow. Just take some on the brush. Now all the while my sky is wet. So here we go. Very low on the horizon, this yellow. You can, if you want to, you can go a little bit higher. I know some of you are painting with me. Yet letters, and when people are doing the classes with me as well, they tell me that they'll be painting along with me. And we'd like to see your efforts as well. So send them to us. You can get the details on our website. Next colour up is light red. Now light red is a very strong colour. Be very careful with it. Here we go. And as we go up there, I'm going to start adding in darker tones. And I'm going to add in to the light red some indigo. I want to try and get a deep red toned colour. I'm putting that on up here, like that. Got to be very specific about this. I actually need that. I need that much, much darker so that it's more specific in its tone as it comes down, because I have to reflect all this and move all this. So I want to get that really dark at the top, and that's going to help me then with the bottom of my painting. So first and foremost, we're going to move this around. I want to get my lighter toned colours moving up into the sky, and then we'll reverse the whole lot and get it all to move down into the sky. And let's see what happens. I can see for a start that the yellow is disappearing there. I'm just going to strengthen that off. Then I'm going to turn this around. As you can see, it's charging down the paper, which is fine. And to even that all out then, what I do is I just turn it on its side like this. It won't run down anymore, it'll run the other direction. But this time I'll start to lay it flat like that. Actually, I want to just run that down a little bit more. Take my indigo and maybe a little bit more in there. Like that. See how that develops. And then back up, one into the other. And I'll just turn it now on its side. There we are. Now, so first of all, we're going to dry our sky off. Now, I'm going to move my painting now up onto the easel. There we are. Now, actually when I was looking at Lough Derg, which is on the River Shannon, I discovered that it's the only inland lake in the country, in the Republic, that has an RNLI lifeboat station on it. So I'm going to start off at the top. Let me start off in the middle here. You can see how dark that is. And it's got to be dark to pick up those sunset colours. So indigo, and indigo is very important, as is the light red for this. When you get a nice inky consistency. We'll just bring this down. As we come down, a lot of people make the mistake when they're doing drawings like this, that they do the outline first and then they fill it in. It's much better if you bring it with you when you're painting, because what happens is, once you start to do this, what happens is you get a line which is around the building, and that dries while you're filling in the rest. So you get two lines. So when you're doing stuff like this, try as much as you possibly can to bring it with you so that you don't end up with that line. Keep adding water to this. I want to get the main body of the building in first before I start coming out from the sides. There we are. You'll find little happy discoveries as you go along. Like that is quite sufficient for there. You can leave little bits of white space if you want to do that as well. So again, I just want to mix up some more paint. Indigo, touch of the light red just to warm it up slightly. Some more water. Now I'm going to start here, bring that down. I've got some light red there that isn't mixed properly, but that's not going to cause me any concern. These are little discoveries that you make during the course of a painting. bring that down here. Now I want to level that all off over here so that they're all coming down together. Here we go. And I'm going to start in the center now. Here. Again, keep it coming down just like this. Now when we go to do our reflections, we may have to put our painting back on the table again, because otherwise it'll just charge them. We'll see. I'm going to experiment here. I'm going to just try it up on this first, and if it doesn't work, then I'll have to move it. Now, I want to get in some trees here, and I also want to get in some distant headland just here first. So I'll do the distant headland first. That's going to be lighter in tone, just a little bit lighter. That'll meet up there, because that's actually further away than the castle. The castle would be nearer, that bit of land would be further away, so you want the two to see the difference between the two, so you have a lighter tone there. And I'll strengthen that up then a little bit later. Now for my trees, I'm going to go into my brush like this again. Remember I said before, we just push it open like that. In an earlier program, when you're going to use this particular brush, push it open like this. And that gives you a lot more flexibility then. Just a little bit of water on it. And then I'm taking some paint. I'm just going to add the same two colours, and then just very gently turn it around like this. These are your trees. And we don't want the whole thing to be solid like that. We want to see space coming through. There we are. Because again, that's like this area here. Both of those are further away, and then our castle is nearer. So the castle has to be toned, a couple of tones darker. Now I'm going to add in a new colour. I'm going to add in burnt sienna, because I want this to be nice warm colours, but at the same time I also want it to be dark. So with the burnt sienna, I've just got to add in another little touch of indigo. Now this time I have a lot of stuff to do here now. I have an awful lot of paint to get on here. So I want to keep some of that light red for this area, and then I'm going to add in my darker tones in here. Welcome back to part 2 of the program. Now Drummondere Castle, what we're painting today, is we're putting it against a backdrop of a sunset. So silhouettes are not as difficult as most people think. So I'm just going to spend a little bit more time on the silhouette just to show you how that works. First of all, I'm just going to put in a light tone of colour. This is just a bit of a light red like that there. Now there's no real big secret about this. You're starting off with a lighter tone, and then what you're doing, you're putting dark tones over the light tone. So I just put that in like that. Now, that's going to be my horizon line. What I want to spend most of my time on now is to capture the silhouette shape. Now, a good way to do it is to draw it, but if you are confident enough to try and use the brush and to get that shape in, then by all means do it, because that's the whole secret of watercolour is to learn the skill of drawing and painting just using paint. That's the secret of a good watercolour. Now, as that's drying itself, I'm going to start taking some dark tone colours. And you can do all sorts of things, all sorts of silhouettes. You can make the shapes of castles, of boatmen and boats, trees, and you can reflect them all into the water as well. So let me just try and see if I add my colour in. Let's just see the drying process in action first. So if I put that on there, and I just leave that for a moment, you can see that it's starting to bleed into the sky there like that. Now, the longer I leave that, the more that's going to bleed up into the sky. Now, if I change colour, if I add a little bit of light red into that, let's see what happens now. I'll just put another one here. So that tone there is lighter in tone, and if I pull that shape down like this, and if I deliberately leave little bits of space like that, it's almost like it has a mistiness about it. Now I'm going to strengthen that again. I'm just going to go into another little bit of light red. I'm just going to come to this one now, and I'm going to do the same thing again. This time I'm going to push in less paint, so it gives you that more of a, it's starting to fade away a little bit more. So now this time I'm going to go less again. I'm taking a little bit less paint and going in again here, and as you can see, it gets really light in tone there. So you have 4 different shapes there. Now you could start this off with the lighter tone first, and then the next one, the next one, the next one. Now I started with the dark, and then I gradually made them lighter and lighter and lighter. Now, on a silhouette, what we're trying to do is you're taking your background colours, which should be bright, and you're darkening your main focus. It could be the castle, it could be a person, it could be anything at all, a tree. And the whole point of the silhouette is to get the shape to stand out in front of all the bright colours. Now, I'm going to try and put in a silhouette shape now just here, and let's see how it looks. Now, it may not be just quite dry. In fact, I'll just dry it before we go any further. Now, I'm going to put in a tree shape just here as the silhouette. I'm taking my detail brush, and I'm just going to push it up here like this. As you can see, because you have a light background, those dark tones, they really jump out at you. If I push that up like that, I'm just going to change now to my rigger, just to enhance the shape. Take it up like this. You can see every little notch and every little turn because you have a dark shape in front of the light shapes. There we are. As I said, if our colours were almost together on this, you wouldn't see all these little knurls and turns as much. Because you have a dark shape in front of light colours, that will be much clearer. Now I want to just strengthen the bottom of the tree. It looks a little bit weak compared to the rest of it. Strengthen that off here. There we are. And you can deal with that there. You can show the roots if you like I'm showing here now. And again, that almost gives it a more realistic feel to it. And again, you can add in a little bit more twigs, branches. Now what's going to change this tree here, if I decided to put in some foliage and leaves. So let me just see what's going to happen when I do that. I'll try and keep it to one side of the tree so you can judge which is best. For a silhouette, those stark branches coming out, they give almost an eerie effect to the painting. So if I start putting in dark tones like leaves, it's going to soften it all off a little bit. So let's just see what happens when I do that. So you only put the leaves where you have the branches, like this. And I'm going to try and leave some of those there. showing. As you see, it's starting to take another shape. You can fill it in as much as you like, as long as you can let the colour go through, that the colour behind coming through all the time. So you can see, you get almost half that because of the starkness of those little twigs and branches, and then on the other side then where you have foliage, it's almost like two different paintings. And again, by putting in little bits like this, you create your own landscape. But the whole point of it is this, the silhouettes are dominant in the landscape, and that's what you're trying to achieve with a silhouette, is to get that strong colour coming in. Now, what we do now, we're going to go back to our silhouette, our Drumineer Castle, and we'll see how we go from there. Now I want to concentrate now on my water. So I'm taking my hake brush, some clean water. Now what I'm doing is, I'm putting this on, I said clean water. Now, it's going to be dark toned anyway, so that's not going to cause too much problems. I just want that to run down there. Push that down all the way. Now the longer I leave this, the more the water's starting to go down there and develop. And that will allow me then to come back in here. So as I come down, look at that colour there. So I'm just letting that run down. Let's develop it a little bit more. Now, my dark tones. Okay, here we go. I'm going to reflect here. But what I said earlier was, we're not trying to capture the same image. We're almost just reflecting the tones into the water, like that. And I'm just going to try over here now as well with the trees. Again, we're not trying to make tree shapes. And there. As you see, all the water is starting to build up along there. So I'm just going to take my hake brush. And what I'm going to do then, I'm just going to dry the brush off like that. I'm just going to run that across there, and that'll pick up any of the paint that's starting to gather along there. And that's doing its job very nicely there now. That area there, where the water has gone up over, that looks like almost like it's reeds, or reed beds. So you'd get away with that. Our old 11th century tower is now silhouetted against the sky, and our trees over here is behind that again. So I'm just going to reinforce this area a little bit more with some dark tones. So I'm just coming in here like this. And again, you can get away by reflecting those in. And maybe those little reeds that we spoke about. Change the colour slightly, pull it down. And you can darken down areas of the castle as well. And pull those into. And there we are. Now, I just want to put one little water line just across here, just to create that feeling of water. But I think the reflections are doing its job, and you would know that that was water. So I just want to clean my hake brush again. And I want to then pull in the brush. And I'm just going to put a little bit just across there. Just one little little water line. Here we go. Put the brush down, just touch it and go across and then lift off like that. And there we are. So that's the old 11th century tower at Drumineer on Lough Derg on the Shannon. This is Harry Feeney, Relax with Watercolour. Until next time, goodbye.